Hello everyone, we're Frank and Angie living well in Ecuador. Here's a thought for today. Is it more dangerous to live frugally abroad than it is in the States? We'll talk about that in this video. Actually, the way gringos behave, they make themselves subject to some of these issues when they go abroad. So I've talked about in other videos how one of the things that we really like about living abroad is not having to have a car. The US is very car-centric, and it's actually a convenience that we actually enjoy. We enjoy having private transportation. There are many reasons to enjoy your own private transportation over public transportation. We won't go into that here. But as far as the benefits of not having to have a car, not not being beholden to all of the commitments you have to make with having vehicles and the potential liabilities and all that. But is it more dangerous abroad when you're riding public transportation? So in other videos I've talked about how the importance of speed. That's one of the core issues with riding on public transportation, and I don't mean necessarily the city buses, but rather the ones that go from town to town, where they are just driving so fast that it's dangerous in and of itself. But today we didn't have a bus driver that was driving fast, so speed wasn't the issue today. Today, what he was doing was he was driving pretty slow actually, but he was passing as if there was no concern whatsoever about the proper way to pass. Every single time there was no diligence taken at all. It was always like, well, okay, a car's in front of me, I'm going to pass, regardless of the double yellow line, the curbs where the blind curbs where you can't see the traffic coming, the double yellow lines obvious on the road. And so what this did is it caused him to have to put the brakes on very sharply several times and back out because of traffic coming around the corner from the blind curb. And at several times, not just once, cars honking because he's in their lane, oncoming traffic lane. So, you know what the law of averages says, this happens often enough, and if you're bus barnacles like we are, we like to call ourselves bus barnacles, your mind starts telling you these things that, well, the more of these situations that you're in, the higher the percent chance that you run the risk of a serious injury. So is it more dangerous than in the States?
Sammy, come on! We have to wait for Grandpa!
Well, one could say that in that respect it appears more dangerous. But then in the States you have similar dangers. Some people might, not similar, but you have other dangers with being on the road. Nowadays, road rage is a serious matter in the States. The state of the culture is in such a condition there, and I highlight it because it isn't necessarily the case here abroad. So you have cultures that are at different levels of, you can say, either development or deterioration. So you have a cultural deterioration that's happening in the States. Not so sure about, Europe. Maybe soon we'll find out. We'll go check it out for you.
Yeah.
So you've got a cultural deterioration, and it isn't dangerous because of the bus drivers there. It's dangerous because of the other people on the road, even though you have the convenience and comfort of your own private transportation. You've got so many road rage incidents. I personally was the victim of several road rage incidents. I didn't respond. I'm not the type of person to entangle myself in a violent way, you know. But so yeah, I know that firsthand, and I know that it's an issue. The other issue is there's danger there from criminals with badges and uniforms. I mean, the fact of life is that there's a lot of nice policemen, and there's nice people, and they protect and serve, and you know, you appreciate them and you love them for it. Now, you know, I'm just talking about the facts. The facts of life are that there's always some kind of a bad element in an otherwise well-meaning institution. So there's always going to be a certain percentage of bad element, and as a culture, you know, grows or deteriorates, you know, that percentage of bad element may increase or decrease. I'm not making a judgment on that at this point, but I'm saying that there is a small chance of suffering at the hands of institutional violence there. So I'm going to just leave it at that, but I'm just saying that it is one of the things that you have to be careful of. You have to be careful of in any big city, even abroad. So I'm not trying to say it's just in the States. You know, actually, the way gringos behave, they make themselves subject to some of these issues when they go abroad. And we've talked about this in other articles on the Discover Cuenca, Ecuador. So you can always make yourself a target in some way. So that's always a potential issue. But is it more dangerous to live frugally abroad, meaning that if you want to be living without personal transportation, is it more dangerous? So, you know, I felt like today that every time, almost every other time we get on a bus, we're really kind of taking a risk. So, you know, you can always be in a private transportation and get in a car accident in a foreign country, and you could end up getting into trouble that way too. So I'm just saying, the thought occurred to me that you don't really remove the risk of danger by going abroad and relying on public transportation. You're just swapping it out for a different kind of danger. You know, it seems like that's what it comes down to, the choice that we're looking at. So we need to decide, okay, well, which kind of danger am I more willing to take a risk?
Oh, your shoes are too big, Sammy. Yeah. You got some new shoes?
At least we can choose to get on the public transportation less often if we can stand it. Or we can move. We can move somewhere where we don't need to get on the intercity transportation as much.
Is that your new shoes, Sammy?
Pretty shoes. So we're in Cuenca at almost 9 o'clock and everything is still closed except for... So it's 9 o'clock and the baños are not open. There it is. Closed. That's another thing of not having your own private transportation is when you're on foot, it takes longer to get to a restroom, and if it's closed, then you're out of luck. So in conclusion, almost every other bus we're on has had some sort of high factor of danger. And so if you're looking at making a choice to be in the States, I will discuss in my course how to minimize the cost of owning a vehicle in the States, as we did not live without a vehicle in the States. So there are ways to minimize the cost. I'll tell you my personal hacks